you do like it.
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Bonjour, welcome to SimSpeed TV and the simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series from Circuit Magny-Cours in France for this round 6 of season 9 simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. GT4s of Pass 2 up first, lots of great GT racing coming up across the evening and across multiple races. David Haynes here with Jay Kennedy as we get into that curtain raiser of Pass 2. And of course, this is a circuit very, very new to iRacing and therefore relatively new to our drivers as well. That will present them some level of challenge. But I remember taping Channel 9 overnight to watch F1 races here back in the day. So certainly a circuit well known around the world, well loved by long-time Grand Prix fans. This is where it is, this is what it looks like, and it's had a couple changes over the years. This is the most recent layout, and the layout that Formula One raced on for a couple of years. Very, very fast opening sector, quick corners there, long run down towards the Adelaide hairpin. And then Fernando Alonso's famous quick chickens through the middle part of the lap and also the very tail end of it. Where our best overtaking opportunity is going to be? Well, I definitely would say at the Adelaide hairpin, but I think up at turn 15, you could also make some good moves if you got a good run out of the preceding complex and found good grip. We are in the GT4 cars, and as it works in this championship, don't consider it individual driver's success ballast, consider it manufacturer ballast. The winning cars get their power trimmed back a little bit. Cars that weren't up front can get a little boost, and that's why the Aston Martin Vantage GT4 is at 99.5% power, Mercedes is at 96%, the McLaren at full beans, and the Porsche Cayman back at 96% as well. This is a track with some long and fast flowing sections where that horsepower won't matter drastically, but then a really long run down towards the Adelaide hairpin. That's where you suspect an Aston Martin or a McLaren could do well. Jay, they're qualifying right now.
Yeah, qualifying is underway. Before we get into it, we'll quickly check the championship because it actually is getting a little bit tight up towards the top. I mean, we know that Sam Muir's driven away with it a little bit, but everyone else is relatively close in that championship fight. So it's going to be a very, very interesting end to the championship as we hit the halfway point now.
Yeah, you see those Mercedes and Porsches up front, but Hilton Booth very consistent in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4 across the championship so far to be at 131 points. And incredibly, don't think we've got a McLaren on track today.
Not tonight.
Should still be very interesting. This is the format for Pass 2 tonight. 2 races. They're in qualifying right now. Then a 10-minute race into the 20-minute race 2 with the reverse top 10, and we definitely expect to see a pit stop or 2 there. It's an interesting pit in and pit out here. I think the delta's actually not so bad through the pit lane. Not dissimilar to Montreal, where we were not that long ago. You kind of get to skip the last couple corners of the chicane if you're taking the pit entry.
Yeah, I guess the one thing with it that is similar as well is that you don't slow down anywhere near as much if you are going into the pits. So we may see some of those incidents that we can potentially see at Montreal tonight. Fingers crossed we don't, but there is every chance of that. Qualifying at the moment is a little bit interesting as well. As you said, we've got no McLarens out there, which is a little surprising, but Catalone's driven away with it at the moment. He's up by a huge margin, 0.8 of a second ahead.
Yeah, and then parked it. So he might be
Yeah.
done in qualifying. We'll see what the track conditions provide for the remaining couple of minutes. If anyone can improve on that. 37 Celsius in the middle of the afternoon. Partly cloudy. Goodness, there's a couple drivers that would be hoping for a cloud to come across. Patrick Panson currently 8th and well positioned to pick up a little bit of a slipstream in some of the faster parts of the lap, but not close enough to really get impeded at the end of the lap here.
Finish line creeps up very, very quickly from the finish line, from the chicane as well. So drivers have to be really careful to not be too aggressive through that final chicane, because if you do cut the corner, it will be a big penalty at the end of your lap.
Looking at some sectors, Mizomo purple in the first sector, teal in the hair on his waifu. We'll see what the middle sector brings. But that looked, yeah, it did look very wide in the Aston Martin.
See how this lap will improve. He's actually changed car from last round as well. He has used this opportunity to change from, I believe he was in the Porsche last round, and last round that we ran GT4, and now into the Aston Martin.
2.5 missing in that middle sector. He parks it up, but he's not going to have time for another lap, and it's a heat session, so it'll be a hard cut to the end of this qualifying, won't it?
Yeah, correct, it will be. So that's Mizomo done. The best he will start is second, although he did improve on that previous lap to get it down to within a couple of tenths of a second.
Yeah, the drivers are improving, including Sam Muir here, though. So he's gone personal best first and second sector, very aggressive across the curb in the final sector, and he improves, but only in time, not in position.
This might be on a lap here that could jump him up the timing sheet if there's enough time. There will be just. Be one of the last drivers to get a lap in here.
Cannon potentially as well. Yeah, just 30 seconds left in this session. Booth through the final chicane. No improvement. Lost a tiny bit at the end there. Also lost about 0.2 in the first sector. Jason Muscat.
I don't think he's going to make it in time.
Oh no, 30 minutes or it's free, right?
Something like that. I don't think, yeah, he's going to short. Checkered flag comes out, so free pizzas incoming from Jason Muscat.
And his teammates out there as well. So interesting qualifying session. And it shapes them up like this. Matthew Cardellone on pole from Simon Mizomo. I think in race trim, those Astons could be pretty good, knowing what we know about the power. Sam Muir, Sean Lacey, 3rd and 4th. And then Seth Brown and Pat Gallo. Brady Buchanan and Richard Mayer. Top 10 on the qualifying grid. Patrick Panson and Hilton Booth. Again, sports car style, it is going to be a 2-wide rolling start, so these are your rows for the race start. Matt Hardigan and Paul Longworth, 11th and 12th. Darren Sharp and Stu Brown. Then Jason Muscat, as we saw, and Greg Panton, 16th. Blake Rankine and Reese Ashmore with times set, but not super competitive ones there in 17th and 18th. And was there a driver without a qualifying time? No, everyone set a time in qualifying.
Full pace lap ahead of us as well, so be a little bit of time before we get into the race. As we said, a 10-minute race for race 1, 20-minute race for race 2, and a reverse top 10 when we do get into the second of our races tonight. So these guys are really going to have to be on their toes when it comes to that start of race 2. Remembering that we'll invert the quickest to the midfield for the next race.
So I'll be a 75 km/h pace car speed on this formation lap. I would have thought that the pit lane speed limit was 80 kilometers an hour at a Grand Prix track like this, but in fact it's not. It's 60. So that actually changes the pit delta a little bit when we get into that race number 2. Not expecting any pit stops in this 10-minute race number 1, though. Certainly something to keep in mind for that second race. Stu Brown's on the grid yet?
Yep, he is.
Can we take a look?
And I'm working on it. Working on it.
Furiously clicking, and all the teammates are qualified pretty close to each other there in their Mercedeses. So he's right up behind his teammates there alongside, and there he is.
Loving the gaming shelf in the background.
Yeah, I'll say it right this week. He's got the PlayStation and the SNES.
Called original PlayStation Toka 2, sitting on the PlayStation as well. Love it.
Great game.
One of the first racing games I got well and truly into. We'll have some more drivers featuring when we get into Pro-Am as well. Also, this guy's watching along again.
Yeah, there we are. The in-session chat at the moment on this pace lap is fantastic, and I'm not going to do it justice, but Stuart Brown says, grab a zinger box and sit down. Jason Musket says, it's finger-licking good. Stuart Brown says, did you want to upsize? Jason Musket says, I'm just here for the SR.
Guessing that means he's not here for a zinger box in the end.
I tell you what, last week, went to my local. Sorry, we're out of 375ml cans of Pepsi Max. Did you want to swap to a different drink? No, not really. Okay, here's a 600ml one then. Yeah, winning.
That's the go. As if you'd want to change away from a Pepsi Max.
Like, yeah, if they had any other sugar-free things, I'd have considered it, but they don't. It's actually the only sugar-free one that they carry. So I was like, what? Really? Like, I'm doing myself enough harm. Don't need to, spike my insulin as well.
Do they sell Pepsi Max at Super Cheap Auto?
Oh, gee, I don't know, but I bet you what they do sell would be a camping fridge to keep them pristine.
Yes. Little travel one that you can plug into your... What are they called these days? They're not called a cigarette lighter anymore.
I just call it a 12 volt.
Well, that's fair enough. That's a good one to call it. But, I mean, I grew up in the era when people actually did light cigarettes with them.
Yeah, well, now you just use it to charge
my
their
age.
vape. Now people just use it to charge their vape. So pace car's in, and your pole sitter decides now's a good time to try to, flummox everyone through the final chicane, but it doesn't work because you've got to wait for that green flag, and if anything, he's just flummoxed himself. They're 3 wide in the background as we get the first GT4 race underway. Cold tyres are very much a headache for a lot of our drivers, and that's Pat Gallo way, way off in the Porsche. Even your leader struggling a little bit on these cold tyres. Simon Mazzomo through the inside of the long right-hander takes it away. Big moment for Muir or Mare, and they're all having a mare in the background. Matt Hardigan ends up in the wall, nearly flips it across the tyre barrier. Sam Muir all started that, and that's a very, very tall reverse gear for the Mercedes as well.
Definitely is. It's going to be a bit of a battle for a few of these guys to come back, and a few have just gone straight ahead at the hairpin as well. So been more going on. Richard Mare went straight ahead at the hairpin, tries to rush back to get his damage fixed, but Brown and Mazzomo, they've checked out a little bit at the front, and Matthew Cardellone, he's just nowhere near.
Yeah, so it's Mazzomo from Brown, Lacey, Cardellone, Buchanan at the moment, and there's no rear stability whatsoever on cold tyres for this Mercedes, and that's where it all almost kicked off. Jason Muscat off the road again, couple positions swapping inside of the top 5 at the moment. Lacey up to second.
Drew Brown, the biggest winner out of this start of the race, started 14th. He's already doubled his positions and now up into 7th.
So having a look then around the outside, someone Cardalone's already off in front.
Yeah, he is. Said that was Longworth that went off the background there too. So a lot of drivers getting caught out in the early phases of this one. As while we were just on that replay there, Buchanan got through on Cardalone and Cardalone cut back through turn 3. These guys are going at it hard.
Cardalone almost off the road. Buchanan was. Patrick Panton's shaping up around the outside here. We know that the straight line performance for the Astons is pretty good at the moment. That means they should be strong down into that hairpin. You get into the twistier, more quick direction changes of the middle of the lap. Again, I don't think the Mercedes on cold tyres is particularly good with the changes of direction. That sort of unsets it. Sean Lacey's off. He was in second. The Porsche is now in the gravel. Little kiss on the wall. We'll get back going again, but it's overstepped somewhere in the middle of the lap.
7th back to 12th too, just from one minor error. That's a huge mistake. What happened?
Under just a little bit of pressure, but then into this quick right left. That's too much curb. I'm not sure we quite get a good look at the rest of it, but I think it's just too much curb.
Well, that was happening too. Cardalone's made a big error too, and he's lost out to Buchanan and almost to Patrick Panton here. Just onto the grass there. Couldn't get any grip.
Zomo motoring ahead up front, picking off the fastest lap of the race. Lacey trying to come back through the field somewhat, passing Reece Ashmore and into that top 10, which is oh so critical for the end of this race when we invert that top 10. Anyone sort of just, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th really gets a boost out of that as we go into race number 2. This is 3rd, 4th, breaking himself a little bit. Cardalone runs it out wide off the apex. Patrick Panton in 5th, still not able to capitalize on any of that. Seth Brown good in 2nd. Zomo still 3 seconds ahead in that 1st place. GT4 cars seem to be a little more sensitive to big curbs than a GT3.
Yeah, they definitely do seem a little bit more unbalanced when you do use the curbs a little bit too aggressive. But in saying that, this track seems to suit these cars pretty well because the big curbs are there to stop you from using them, obviously. And the way the track does flow, you can get a really nice flow and rhythm without touching these curbs. So I think if you can work the track out without going anywhere near the curbs, you're going to find yourself in real good stead to get yourself forward. There's Pat Gallo trying to close in on Patrick Panton, not able to do so. Cardalone starting to close that gap down for 3rd on Brady Buchanan as well.
Zomo with another fastest lap of the race. Matthew Cardalone with no lap time in the race because all of them have been deleted for track limits and all. That's how you can almost do it. Goes out super wide, making a double apex of this long 180-degree right-hander. Trying to get as much exit speed as possible. And the nose goes down as they decelerate from about 220 to about 80 k's an hour there.
It'll be a really interesting passing opportunity when we get into our GT3 Pro-Am class later in the evening. Looking forward to seeing how many moves actually happen there with a big field of GT3s as Cannon, they're taking a really wide line through the first part of the 180 at turn 9, then shallow at the exit of turn 10, but he gets a great run out. And sure, he lost himself maybe a couple of tenths through the approach, but he gained it all back very, very quickly.
There's the track limits there as well. Yeah, that's one of those corners that even, back in the 2000s in F1, some drivers would turn in very late for a very late apex, and others would sort of try to put the nose in early, and we saw those two different lines from the two drivers here battling over a podium position. Again, braking super deep. Cardellone almost runs up the back of him, but it's not close enough to be a passing opportunity in that time. Whoa, that lap counted for Matthew Cardellone, 147.1. Oh, drama's in the background though, as Blake Rankine is around. He got a little bit of help from Reese Ashmore.
Disappointing for him because he was going along quite nicely. He was in the top 10. Looking quite content and smooth there. So we'll see if we can pick up what happened and dissect a little bit. But from my first little look there as I was trying to find the replay, very, very late look there from Ashmore and makes fairly heavy contact into the side of the car.
Yeah, at the perfect angle to spin him around as well.
Yep. A little mistake.
Maneuver.
And
yeah, from
really
Buchanan.
there.
In those different lines we've talked about it's called 180 degrees apparently. Don't know how to say that in French. And even if I read it, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it good.
Be an in there somewhere.
Yeah, I bet.
That's my limit of counting in French, even though I learnt French at school for like 7 years. Count to 1.
All I know is that the way that they count the numbers is a little odd as well.
So when you get into the
from our perspective.
From the 30s or so, you do 20 plus 11 or something like that from memory. Patrick Panton dropped a long way back. This is the last lap of the race. Panton dropped back to about 2.5 seconds back. He closed it all back, and he's brought Pat Gallo with him. So we've got a true 4-car battle for this final podium spot here.
So on the final lap of the 10-minute sprint to open things up for the GT4s, a pass to Mizomo, still leading by about 4 seconds over Seth Brown, having a nice little second place. It's all about that third, fourth, fifth, and of course our eyes have got to be on 10th place as well, because that's under threat. Greg Panton under threat from Darren Sharp, who gets ahead in that one as well, and that's to be on pole position for race number 2. Massively optimistic dive, way too optimistic dive from Matthew Cardellone there. The old over-under from Brady Buchanan, super wise stuff, but it's the 13 of Darren Sharp in the Rexy Porsche. It's going to be on pole the way they run at the moment. Rankine and Greg Panton side by side in the long run towards the Adelaide hairpin. Maybe more fireworks for all the spectators this time around. Rankine doesn't overshoot that one. Gets to the apex nicely. If anyone does, it's Panton. So Sharp holds the transfer spot if you want to think about it that way.
Seth Brown in second place. Just got a slowdown penalty as well. So we'll want to be careful and make sure that he clears that before he gets to the finish line on this one. This battle continues on. The battle for third has settled a little. Mizomo, what a drive it has been in this one. Started second, but was in first very, very quickly.
He takes the win. He's well pleased with himself. Brown's going to get that second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, navigating the final chicane for the last time. That's a good waving technique. Is that a new one? I haven't seen him.
That is, yeah, the new
waving it Euro style instead
Yep.
of. You remember he used to try to beat the crumbs off the tablecloth.
There's a new wave for Barney. Now Sharp and Rankin next cars across the line. That is the battle for 10th. Sharp is ahead. As long as he can get through the chicane here, he'll be okay.
Yeah, so he gets 10th, that's 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th from the teammates of Ashmore, Longworth, and Muscat. Matt Hardigan, Sam Muir, and Richard Mayer are all on the lead lap. Looking at them results: Mizomo, Brown, Buchanan, Cardellone, Hansen, Gallo, Booth, Brown, Lacey, and Sharp as our top 10. Take that, flip it, that'll be the grid for race number 2, and then they're all locked in behind Rankin, Hansen, Ashmore, Longworth, Muscat, Hardigan, Muir, and Mayer, 2 drivers that we really could expect to see race through in race number 2 as well, because where did they start? 3rd and 8th on the grid for this one, but involved most heavily in that opening lap.
I think that sums up Sam Muir's race there.
A real expression of frustration at the end, indeed.
Jameer, is he going to do very similar? Not quite as aggressive.
Thought about it.
The 2-minute warm-up for the drivers to just check their heads, get a little drink, have a little bit of a breather, and we'll go and we'll do it all again. Double the distance.
And then we're going to have to decide who made it super for a $20 Super Cheap Auto gift card.
I reckon I made it super tonight, and I reckon you'll make it super for Pro-Am. How's that sound?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. All right. I'll message Sam now and tell him to send us the vouchers because we made it super.
And thanks to all the other partners of simrigs.com, was Pro-Am Sim Series, like simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Echuca Toyota, and Index Designs, who make the series and the broadcast possible. I reckon we'll go to their ads and come back just in time for that formation lap of race 2.
So you do like it? Okay.
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
So now for the 20-minute race of Pass 2, continuing our curtain raiser before we get into the GT3s of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. The inverted grid, I love that livery for Darren Sharp, and I was heartbroken to see the AO Racing car end up in the wall at Long Beach, but it looks just as good on the Cayman as it does on a 911 GT3, methinks. So it's an all-Porsche front row with Sean Lacey then starting out of second place. A slightly more ad hoc livery. Stu Brown and Hilton Booth will be 3rd and 4th for the second row of the grid. And Pat Gallo and Patrick Hansen on row 3. Row 4, Cardellone and Buchanan, who fought all the way through race 1. And then Seth Brown and the race 1 winner Simon Mizomo starting row 5. Row 6 is Blake Rankin and Greg Panton. Reese Ashmore and Paul Longworth stuffing the crust of that row, if you will. and then Muscat and Hardigan. Hardigan, another one of those drivers I think we could see go forward in this second race after their problems and contact and damage in race number 1. Exactly the same thoughts for the all M final row Muir and Mare. And look at them in the background there. I think it's Muir trying to warm up those tyres as much as possible on this formation lap, because that was his undoing on the opening lap of race 1.
Trying very hard to get any heat into the tyres, because obviously there was none at the start of that previous race. So he's trying to get at least a minute amount in. You'll be looking for a bit of redemption in this one. Cardellone will be looking for some redemption. Mare will be looking for redemption. There's lots of drivers that will be looking to get themselves forward because they had horrible starts. They can't all have good races though, so it means that we're going to see some tears potentially. As long as we see some clean racing in amongst it, we'll be very, very happy.
Ooh, you know what $20 will get you at Super Cheap Auto this week?
Well, I'm ready.
So the club member mega sale until the 3rd of May or something, you can get a Turtle Wax Eau de Turtle wash and wax 1 litre for $12.99.
Bad price?
Hey. I picked that because it's vaguely French.
Trying to think of something that you... Brain's not really working too good at the moment. I'll think of something by the end of the night.
Fantastic. So they are part of the way around this this formation lap, with just the final little complex of corners to go, where they changed it up from 2002 to 2003 to a different ending to the lap and a different pit entrance. Got Darren Sharp and Sean Lacey as the front row for this 20-minute race. We're expecting a pit stop from everyone. The pit entry's to the left, the pace car goes there. They're waiting on the green flag. Most of the field still in the final chicane when it drops and we get racing. Seth Brown, massive run there to the inside. They're almost 4 wide, could end in tears in the left-hand kink of turn number 1, and it will, as Panson and Gallo get shoved off into the grass. Gallo spins back onto the circuit. 1 or 2 cars get tagged, but Sean Lacey goes through to the lead of the race. Never a boring opening lap at Magny-Cours.
Oh, you see Ruth around in the background, and you also saw he was Darren Sharp, just had a huge wiggle. He tried to regain his composure at the exit of turn 3. Interesting start to this one. Lacey breaking away, and Seth Brown starting to close in quick as Cardellone, way too deep.
Somehow pulls it up, makes the corner. Seth Brown came from 9th to 2nd so far on this opening lap, and he's got oodles of confidence on the cold tyres, which other drivers clearly lack. Very twitchy, very snappy, trying to go side by side through that chicane. Cardellone and Brown. Cardellone muscles his way up to 3rd, so some big movers already, some big casualties already with Gallo, Muscat, Hilton Booth and Patrick Panton going backwards big time on this opening lap.
Seth Brown now in the lead too. He just made that move just off camera. We just missed it, unfortunately, but we'll get a replay of it very soon. But Brown now taking the lead away. A very, very nice late lunge.
Track's cooled off a little bit from the race 1 as well. Jump scare from Cardellone as he slides through frame and into the grass. Will drop a lot of positions as well as Brown, Sharp, Buchanan, Mizomo, and Blake Rankin go up. Interesting, Mizomo actually not one of the drivers to make massive progress on this opening lap, but he's still inside of the top 10 with a lot of time still to go. And we saw he had race pace to burn in race number 1, so maybe he, just so cautious, will work his way forward. Brown, bad run over the curb, and Brady Buchanan looks down the inside of him. 3 wide in the background as Panton's trying to come back through the field as well.
Sam Muir already up into the top 10, up into 8th position as well. He's already gained 9 positions.
Brown around. And backwards.
Is that with Mizomo potentially?
Yeah, Mizomo's sideways as well in the runoff. Brown is looking almost like he's going to try to address it, but there's no grip on cold tyres, there's no grip on the grass, and there's no grip on the gravel in these GT4s.
Zoma did sneak the nose up there, but he was sort of hugging the inside there, so I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one for the race admins to dissect later on.
Now, Ashmore and Cardellone have come together. Cardellone gets passed by
just straight line the chicane there too.
There's furled black flags for Muir, Mazomo, and Sharp at the moment as well. So the stewards super duper busy. Looking here.
That's messy.
Yeah, it is. Muir goes through on a bunch of them. Now up into 4th in the purple Mercedes. 13 positions gained from him. 8 from Seth Brown. Never quite know what to expect. And Darren Sharp still in the top 5 there. Cardellone goes to pit lane.
Interesting to
no black flag on him, so it might be for damage or just a strategy call. Hilton Booth also stops.
Come in and done their first of their pit stops. We're not expecting 2 stops, so I'm a little surprised to see that someone would come in this early. I don't think you can make it from here all the way. I think you're probably 13 minutes on the clock, but we'll find out towards the end whether they can make it.
I reckon the most expensive grandstand seats in the house are going to be at the Adelaide hairpin there, and under some pressure from Matt Hardigan, Paul Longworth, the inside line, didn't get a great exit. They're going to go single file on their way into this chicane, which is called Nürburgring apparently. So I think almost every corner that is named after someone is named after another Grand Prix track. Paul Longworth off on the exit.
Worth was doing a decent job too. And he goes. Notice too, Sean Lacey's starting to close back in on Seth Brown. So that gap at the front was out to about 1.5 seconds, but it's already back into 0.6.
Yeah, Lacey building into it a little bit. There's a little bit of a kerfuffle here with Hardigan, Panton, Muscat, and Pat Gallo. So Matt Hardigan's in 9th at the moment in the, I'm going to call it copper and silver Mercedes. Panton runs a little bit wide, and Pat Gallo says pit lane for me.
Bad option just to get out of the group, especially if you're getting held up, and we're not far off what we may have thought was the pit window. So getting 1 extra lap's probably not too hard, but getting 2 might be a bit of a stretch for some.
Muscat past Panton with a better exit from the chicane than down towards turn 1, but you saw the brake lights come on where you wouldn't expect them through the long Estoril corner. So clearly car got just a tiny bit out of shape on him through the long corners. This is still our lead fight between Brown and Lacey.
Very good battle too. Oh, we haven't had pizzas come together. Might have ended up with some half and halves not actually being half and halves. I don't know, that's a bad pun, I apologise.
Accepted. So we definitely know, because the starting fuel for this race, the same as race number 1, that they'll all get past 10 minutes if they desire. This is Mazomo inside 3 wide, and they just both outbrake themselves?
Yep. That was Brown and also Paul Longworth both outbraking themselves as Blake Rankin, I think, is coming into the pits. No. Been overtaken by Patrick Panton, and now Richard Mayer trying to get a spot. No, Rankin comes in. decides that's enough. Patrick Panton's come in as well. So Sam Muir's just gone and posted another fastest lap of the race. He's hit set 3 in a row.
He's got a bit of damage on the front left there as well. Hard to tell. No? Maybe?
Looks okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, 146.3 for him. About half a second quicker than what the leaders are doing. As drivers come out of the lane, you see them on the pit exit that starts very wide, and then you've got to go around the outside there. Greg Panton is around, though.
Oh, hit the wall hard too.
The Aston Martin Vantage has gone backwards into the concrete.
Zomo's got involved again. I don't think he's done anything wrong in this one again, but we'll see. Just got fed off the track there, Mazomo, and he hit the wall as well as Panton there.
Your souvenir rear wing. Somewhere, yeah. Clearly, there was a space there. He went nose for it, and then it closed on him. Our leaders, where Brown still leads, they still stay out, and they've got at least one more lap. And Lacey follows. Buchanan stays out. Muir stays out. This is from
On board Mazomo.
Mizomo's perspective. It's like he had no idea he was there. Right hand side for the next hairpin. Just entirely unaware. Still closing up a little bit in the race lead, and they've got 8 seconds to the next car. That's Brady Buchanan, and then another second to Sam Muir, who still racy and pacey, but started at the very, very, very back of the grid for this one.
One thing they have to be careful of, yeah, look at this last lap time there. So Seth Brown, 46.9, 46.7 for Cardellone. He's out there in clean air, already made his pit stop. Not sure if he's got enough fuel to make it all the way to the end, but if he does, he might actually overtake these guys with that mega undercut.
Cardellone is actually racing Stuart Brown, who hasn't stopped yet. So maybe that's not going to help a whole lot. Yeah, and then there's also Longworth and Mazomo. Wonder if all of those cars are going to have to pit this lap. That's almost like a double apex from Cardellone there this time. It's the Sunset Bend of France. A million possible lines through there. Looks like everyone's pitting at the end of this lap, though, because Brown and Lacey are in, so too Buchanan and Muir, and not seen anyone carry on just yet. Looking at Brown, this might be an in-lap for him as well. Mac goes one more.
He has been pretty good on fuel throughout the season, though, so we've seen him go long a couple of times in that Porsche, as Lacey's already out. Brown's already out. Buchanan has finished his stop. Sam Muir is going to just pip him at pit exit.
Fantastic. It's a very wide pit exit. You can race on it. Here comes Cardellone. Longworth hasn't stopped, and he gets out super, super wide in the long right-hander. Cardellone sneaks down the inside of him. It's a bit speedway, that move, I think. And so now you've only got 2 cars that haven't stopped, Mayer and Longworth.
Lacey back through on Brown just then.
Yeah, that's net lead of the race for Sean Lacey.
Where did he get... That's happened actually at pit exit. A quicker pit stop. I've just completely missed that.
It's a great work from Lacey. He did have a shorter stop.
1.5 seconds shorter.
Maybe half the reason we didn't see him try to attack too much in the opening stanza of the race, and now he's just got 5 more laps to try to bring it home.
Oh, Mizomo's around again, unfortunately. It looks like he might be race done.
Yeah, dropping to the back of the field now. Simon Mizomo, a very, very dramatic race 2 after what was a serene race 1. Last drivers that need to pit coming in now. Mayer and Lacey goes back through to the lead, and Longworth will presumably have to stop as well. You can see that the whole length of the pit straight between first and second to third place, Sam Muir, who still holds the fastest lap of the race.
I can confirm as to what happened with Mizomo. His car didn't take on any fuel. That's why he's pulled the car over. He wasn't going to make it back to the pits for another pit stop, so just parked it.
Right.
A little surprising because Mizomo's usually all over those sort of things, so I'm a little surprised that that has happened. But yeah, 3.5 second pit stop when he did stop. Confirm as well, Paul Longworth, we saw him go long. Well, he's also gone into the pits too quick. Has received a black flag for speeding on pit entry.
Oh dear. I think those start of the pit lane speed limit comes up on you a little quicker on this entry than it does at Montreal, though, for example. So, yeah, I can see how that could get you. 60 k's an hour, and you're not far off the racetrack before you've got to slow down for it. Brown back on the attack, and Lacey goes deep. Brown gets the nose down the inside on the exit and goes back to the lead of the race.
Now, is he going to be able to hold it? Of course, they're coming up to final complex of corners here. 5 minutes to go on the clock. Not much racing left in this one. 3 laps when they cross the line. That's a beautiful move from Seth Brown to steal the lead back. You will be concerned, though, because Lacey still has great pace, but confidence there now that he's been able to make a very, very nice move.
Buchanan's been catching Muir a little bit in the battle for third as well, so lots to still happen in the final couple laps, even though we're through all the pit stops for the leaders. So who's got more confidence to break deep? Maybe the Porsche. Tidy little exit as well.
And Muir not close enough to get into this fight. And you would think that it's just going to be between these two at the moment too, because he's not closing in anywhere near fast enough.
Everyone into their rhythm for their race pace at this point as well. Seem like maybe there's a difference in sort of tyre warm-up and balance between the different models, but you get to this point in the race and it does seem to level out a little more.
It's dropped around about 1.5 seconds on this lap, Sam Muir closing in, but Seth Brown took the most fuel out of our top 10 odd cars, so he definitely got enough fuel to bring it home, you would think, in comparison to everyone else out there.
Yeah, and it is just 2 more laps to go. They've just crossed the start-finish line, and yeah, even my mental maths will tell me, guaranteed, it's just white flag next time, checkered flag after that. This is the gap between Muir and the leaders.
8/10 last lap.
Yeah, he took a decent chunk. As Brown and Lacey get a little more feisty, battling for that race lead, knowing it's closer to when they give out the biscuits.
My maths also says if you're 6 seconds behind, you need a little bit more than 8/10 of a second a lap when you've only got 2 laps to go. Pat Gallo is doing a good job here to hold off Matt Hardigan. he can hold him off all the way to the end here, that'll be a good finish to the night for him. Mason Muscat in the background, they're going straight ahead at the hairpin, the Adelaide hairpin.
Nice work at the curb for Hardigan that time. Race leaders are making a go of it as well. Lacey got a much better exit out of the previous corner. Looked to the inside, then rolled out of it. Now wide again for Brown, side by side in the final chicane. Someone's got to give. Is that going to be a slowdown for Brown? Lacey backs out of it, crosses back underneath the white flags out. He's trying to defend. This is the kind of thing that could bring Muir into it. Did he clear it?
It's cleared it already. It's a brilliant job. I mean, he's lost maybe 3/4 of a second. And I think the most important bit is he didn't let Sean Lacey back through. So that's a brilliant bit of driving. But yeah, Sam Muir's caught up 2 seconds since the last time we checked, but still not quite enough.
Gloves off final lap for pass 2 at Circuit Magny-Cours, and Brown was all the way to the inside towards the braking zone. Comes back across, leaves one lane. Lacey looking to go just a little wider of the apex. And in the final half of the lap, has actually looked like where Lacey might have a bit of advantage in the slower corners. Fast direction change stuff. Brown looks a little more comfortable. Lazy turn in at the 180.
You're still closing in, but yes, not going to be enough laps left in the race, you would think. Unless there's a huge lockup in that final complex of corners, all they have to clear a slowdown. But from what we've seen already in this race, that is not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah, this is Lacey's strength. Got a great run out of that corner last lap. Brown knows he's got to defend, but he can't carry a slowdown penalty across the checkered flag on this one. And Lacey looks around the outside, cut back to get to the inside of the hairpin, but he can't do it. Seth Brown will navigate the chicane cleanly, take the checkered flag and the win from Lacey and Muir on the podium.
Great job from both of them. In the end, Sam Muir finishes 3 seconds back from these guys in the end as well. So he closed in so much ground on those last couple of laps, but well done to Seth Brown and Sean Lacey. Great performance and a great effort from them to bring it home clean as well.
What an interesting GT4 race. And Seth Brown, 2 podiums, second and then a first. And he had to hold off Lacey all the way to the end. Sam Muir closed up almost 10 seconds in the final stint of the race. And if there had been another lap, and if they'd got some more slowdowns, and if they'd battled door to door, he might have been right up there. He led home Buchanan and Cardellone. Richard Mayer, Patrick Hansen, Hilton Booth, Pat Gallo and Matt Hartigan completed the top 10. And then it was Jason Muscat, Darren Sharp, Stu Brown, Blake Rankine, Paul Longworth, Greg Panton, Simon Mizomo and Reese Ashmore retirements at the end of that one.
As I just realised, I've had my mic muted that whole time. This is saying it's great for Seth Brown in his championship to try and close that gap up to Sam Muir, but Muir did a great job of defending the championship lead after that poor race 1.
Yeah, agree.
You want me to make the call on the Who Made It Super? All right,
I think so.
I've just made the executive decision in my brain then. We will give it to Pat Gallo for 2 top sixth and a ninth place in the racing tonight. So I think Pat Gallo, for someone who kept it super in a way that he kept it clean, kept it consistent, and pushed on even after that big incident at the start of the first race, he still drove on and picked up 2 top 10s as well. So Pat Gallo, congratulations. Check your Discord messages over the next few days. You'll have a $20 voucher from Super Cheap Auto coming your way.
Nice. And coming our way is the Oz Pro Am Sim Series, the GT3 feature races around Circuit Magny-Cours. Stick with us for that.
Hey. Oh. So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Now it's time for the GT3s of Oz Pro Am Sim Series. And what an interesting race. We are looking forward to, again, with the 2-race format, got a little more time, and Stu Brown joins me, David Haynes. And, well, certainly a challenging track for this style of racing, new to all of the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely new to iRacing this season. It's an interesting one to jump into, with a field this full of talent and full of cars as well. Some tight corners. It's quite a flowy track if you can get it right, but I think we're going to see some challenging moves tonight to try and make way in these 2 races coming up. We'll have a quick look at the championship standings after round 5 in the pro element of the Oz Pro Am Sim Series, with Jeff Connell taking a lead into this race, followed closely by Lachlan Capel, John Merritt in 3rd, with Sebastian Flock in 4th. We've got Brandon Levin in 5th, with Scott Hasler in 6th. We've got Bo Albert in 7th, Jordan Peter in 8th, Christopher Hen in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 drivers is Daniel Fleming.
And over in Brandon Grosh leads that one from Nick Wood, Stephen Tonkin, Harry Lawrence, Seb Varndell, Jeffrey Wang, Adam Jepson, Sam Lehman, Tyson Hanmer, and Ben Holiday. Both of those looking mighty close with a fair chunk of the season still to go. This is what the grid's going to look like for race number 1 in GT3. Bo Albert and Joshua Fitt, all Ferrari front row, with Andre Heimgartner and Jeff Connell for a all black second row there. Lachlan Capel is Nicky No Mates according to that graphic, which I don't believe. And he's got a buddy now, Nick Wood in the BMW, sharing row 3 with him. Colin Schwecke and Brandon Levin will start 7th and 8th. Scott Hasler and Shu Kang 9th and 10th. Then Harry Lawrence and Macaulay Jones row there. Brandon Grosh, the leader in the AM points, sharing his row with Adam Funslow. Ben Jeffrey and Christopher Hen start 15th and 16th. Jordan Peter and Richard Brookfield start 17th and 18th. Different manufacturers, but I like teammates on that row. Teammates, Jeffrey Wang and Sam Lehman, both in BMW, starting 19th and 20th. Then Pollock and Jai Potts on that row, with Ian Jordan and Caleb Bellac, 23rd, 24th. David Baz, the last qualified car at Magny-Cours.
So the guys are getting around here for the warm-up. So it's a difficult one to try and get these GT cars to get the tyres warm throughout this warm-up lap. We'll have a quick look at the BOP, or the adjustment for the balance of power for these cars. Audi getting a bump up to 99% power. No change to the BMW or the Ferrari. That Ferrari at 100% power, so look out for those if you are running that car this week. A bump for the Mercedes as well, up 1% to 98, with the Porsche copping a debit again, 96.5%, and the Lamborghini as well, down to 96, with a number of the stronger runners running the Lamborghini.
Yeah, interesting that it's an all Ferrari front row after that. And qualifying was 15 minutes, 10 minutes coming up for this race 1, that then puts us into the 40-minute race 2, again with an inverted top 10, and typically a 2-stop strategy, although never a complete guarantee. Always some question marks to keep us guessing right to the end on that one. And significantly darker as well. You notice all the headlights on for everyone, and racing into the sunset.
Should be a reduction in track temp as well. Great new look on the graphics as well on screen there. I'm sure you guys probably spoke about that during the past 2, but they look fantastic. Simrigs.com there on top of the update there for the race sets tonight. So looking forward to this one. What's your prediction, Dave? You saw plenty of carnage in past 2. What are you thinking here?
I was about to predict an incredibly calm processional race where they all finish exactly in the order that they qualified.
Absolutely. Why would you predict anything else?
Why would anything else happen?
So it is a 80k an hour start for the drivers. I'll just get through this last couple of corners, and the pace car will peel off. But Formula 1 track as well at some point in time in its history. I think during the COVID era, wasn't it?
I think the last race here might have been 2005-ish.
Going way back. Shows you how rusty my Formula 1 knowledge is.
So go to Paul Ricard these days, or don't anymore, or maybe. And there goes pace car, 10 minutes on the clock. The field through the chicane as the green flag drops. The leader, Bo Albert, takes him down towards turn number 1. These GT3s not quite as unpredictable on the cold tyres, but still something to keep in mind as they work their way through turn 1 and getting shoved onto the gravel. Joshua Fitt, a few other drivers out wide of turn 1. most of the field behaving that would be Macaulay Jones. As Shrekky gets a little bit of the gravel as well, coming off of Estoril. It's all about the run, the long straight. That corner's named Golf. It's absolutely flat out, and it's towards Adelaide Hairpin that you're looking to shape up on the brakes. Brake as late as you dare. Don't really want to drill anyone. It's a massive, massive car park. And the Corp IT car squeezing a couple positions up, leaving some debris in turn number 1. Albert still leads. It's gotten back to second. It's Andre Heimgartner, third on the road from Jeff Connell in the black Porsche.
Yeah, looking to get through cleanly there, but Connell just... was that Connell on the screen? No, it was not, but just runs a little bit wide there, Connell in the Porsche. Looking to keep his championship progression going early, looking promising. Look there at Andre Heimgartner back in the series this week as his schedule permits. So look for him to put pressure on Connell through here. Fifth there in the background as well. That's in the foreground. That's a change of car for him this week into the Ferrari, and paying dividends already up into second spot. So he'll be quite happy with that, along with Bo Albert. This battle here just tightening up. There's a few in the background going too wide as well as we get through to almost complete the first lap of this sprint race. The Pro-Am Sim Series brought to you by simrigs.com.
Harry Lawrence leading the way in the AM category at the moment. Shu Kang has to hit with either damage or a black flag. He's got some of his key competitors right with him though. Does Harry Lawrence, because Nick Wood and Brandon Grosh are just behind. They're all in a line on track at the moment. Doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes you can stick a couple pro cars between yourself and your key rivals, buy yourself a little bit more breathing room, and so many drivers taking this defensive line towards the Adelaide hairpin, just looking to go middle of the road, not get dive bombed. Does not always work out like that though.
And it's going to be a different race for Lachlan Capel here as well, just trying to defend in that Lamborghini, make it as wide as possible. Andre Heimgartner here. One of the more tricky sections of the track, but doing a good job, as you'd expect, to bring that Mercedes out of that corner to head up around the back half of the track.
Yeah, Connell has gotten ahead of him, at least briefly. There will be different strengths to the Porsche versus the Mercedes at different parts of the track. I think the Porsche looks pretty good through the long, slow hairpin. So maybe the Mercedes has a strength somewhere else. The AM battle, absolutely ferocious between Lawrence, Wood and Grosh here, and Wood looks to have a good run in the BMW. Final three corners.
Thought that'd be a tricky car to drive around here. Not quite as nimble as some of the others. We've all seen memes and jokes about just how wide those BMWs are, and it's no trick. Someone's off in the background on the grass there.
Shrekky.
That was Shrekky, just getting wide, managed to catch it. We've got a driver around as well. Ben Pollock, who will have to hold up and let the field through. He's done a good job actually to flick spin that around and not get in anybody's way.
Done about a 720 there, but he hasn't collected anyone, and he's going the right way now. This is Wood again, the pressure on.
It's bad if you get caught on the outside there as well. There is a bit of runoff, but there's a challenge on here as well between Jeff Wang and Ian Jordan, as well as Caleb Bellick just involved in this one. Jumped on to Wang now, just having a look. Again, that defensive position down the inside, Dave mentioned earlier. It's good driving from both of them there to get out of the corner well in the same machinery, so it's down to driver skill. And Wang just pops in the back there to take another look if they get through another of the flip-flops.
Lines on display into the late apex of the hairpin. Wood still behind Lawrence. Good looking Porsche, but trimmed back a bit in terms of its power. Which means you've got to be carrying apex speed as best as possible into that position. 5 minutes done, 5 minutes to go, and Bo Albert leads at the moment. The fact that he's crossed the line just before the 5 minutes would suggest we're going to get one extra lap out of this one as well. It will be very, very close in that regard, potentially. So he's leading from fit Connell and Heimgartner still fighting over third and fourth. And is that the same shirt as a week ago? I'm going to guess it's been washed in the intermediate.
It is, and it looks like we picked up a foot cam as well, which is interesting to have a look at. And he's getting the boots on too, so it's all set up there as well for Bo. And part of what you need to do, I guess, to get into the lead as he is having a good run.
Very instructive with the boots. Now, I'd never say it, but some would suggest he's too big for them occasionally.
That's not a battle that I'm going to enter into at this point in time. Not too familiar with those, so I'll just keep my powder dry, I think. We've just got here Andre Heimgartner as well. Pops back and has a bit of a look further back through the field as we're looking at the drivers in 10th and 11th. I think it's Brandon Levin that we've got on screen now in the iLEC Motorsport, Adam Funzo, sorry, in the iLEC Motorsport car. We'll get used to liveries. I used to know them all, but not anymore. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
It's guaranteed at the moment you got a handle on it, someone will change it up. Like Capel, for example. iLEC have been pretty consistent, and the Lamborghini is almost side by side heading in towards turn number 1. Heimgartner's had a little bit of a bobble because he's no longer on the back of Jeff Connell. And Capel and Hassler are right with him. What's the straight line pace like for the Lamborghini of Capel? I don't think it's actually all that crash hot, honestly. But they're heading towards the braking zone and not going to have a go this time. What was it? Cutting a bit too much of the final chicane.
Grabbed too much curb there, and he would have got potentially up to 3 seconds, but he hasn't dropped too far back, so maybe they were a little bit kinder to him there. But those slowdowns around here can be quite severe. He's got to balance that back. Already just building a lead a little bit, as you're suggesting, Dave, I think with the straight line speed of that Mercedes over the Lamborghini, just blowing that gap out a little bit. A couple of other drivers head off. Just coming up on screen now, Brandon Levin. Is that SD Picks or S&D Racing, I should say? S&D Racing. Liveried Lamborghini just rotating around there. Rejoined the race. Back here again with Lachlan Capel.
Yeah, Heimgartner is gapping him at the moment and probably going to be a little more careful this time, and indeed he is. So 2 more laps to go. Albert crossed the start-finish line with about a minute 50 on the clock, and they're doing a minute 36 laps. So we are going to finish with the checkered flag quite a bit after when the time expires, just by the product of them lapping just quick enough to take that white flag with a couple of seconds left on the clock. Lawrence, the Porsche, doesn't have a whole lot of performance in a straight line, and Wood goes round the outside, looks to cut back underneath. Porsche is good on the brakes. It gets good traction initially. That's making him difficult to pass, even if he's clocking the speed trap at 247 k's an hour to 250 for the cars behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Just able to defend down on the inside there, the Porsche. So retains the lead of the race. I should say the lead of the category in the race. It's going to make it interesting for the main race here, Dave, as well. If we get that sort of clock over in terms of the pit strategy as well, we're going to get basically an extra lap we may not see in that main feature race. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Now, 18 seconds on the clock right now as Bo Albert starts the final lap. If they were just 18 seconds slower, it'd be a 1 lap shorter race, but instead taking the white flag now, and it'll fully, be more than a minute after that clock runs out when they do take the checkered flag. So that will make this a 7 lap opening race. Lawrence runs very wide in Estoril, cuts back for a late apex and locks out Nick Wood, who should have really strong straight line speed here. A little more horsepower, a good slipstream. And I think this being the last lap, gloves off, Lawrence is going to have to defend, and he does. Nick Wood looks to go round the outside again. Colin Schwecke might smell an opportunity here if they keep racing like this. That Porsche just looks like it turns in well, and it definitely just picks up the initial traction off the corn as well.
Yeah, certainly gets better drive with that engine mounted where it is, and that helps him just defend from that BMW. Porsche being that little bit more nimble. Ferrari nipping at the heels there as well, Brennan Grosch, but not quite able to get it done either. Wood looking for that crossback, but not really on it in that big beamer, unfortunately.
Great racing to see the AusPass balance of performance bring all the different models together. There's no one walk-away superior model. Whatever suits your driving style, whatever you can be comfortable with, could be a race-winning car. For Bo Albert, that's the Ferrari. Through the final corner he goes, pole to win. Joshua Fitt not too far behind him. Jeff Connell third, Heimgartner taking home that fourth for the AM win. Harry Lawrence has fended off a whole heap of pressure, and he is justifiably equally pleased.
So Brennan Grosch comes home in P10 overall as well. So a solid effort there for him. I don't reckon...
Pole for race number 2 as well is what's key for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure how much fuel these drivers will have left either. So looking forward to the second race. That one was pretty clean.
Glad you said it. Yeah, so Macaulay Jones, who didn't have a completely clean race number 1, ended up finishing 18th, so he might be able to move forward in the much longer 40-minute race number 2 that is coming up. Looking at the race results of race 1, we know everyone is starting with enough fuel for at least 7 laps of circuit Magny-Cours, because that's what Bo Albert did ahead of Joshua Fitt, Jeff Connell, Andre Heimgartner, Lachlan Capel and Scott Hasler. Again, the AM battle there signified by the blue numbers. Harry Lawrence ahead of Nick Wood. Colin Schwecke snuck in between there to put Brandon Grosch to 10th outright, 3rd in class, and that top 10 will be inverted for the grid of race number 2. Always makes things interesting. Locked into their grid spots then Christopher Henn, Adam Funslow, Richard Brookfield, Jeffrey Wayne, Jai Potts, Brandon Levin, Keller Bellac, Macaulay Jones, Ian Jordan, and Shu Kang 20th. 5 more cars were Lehman, Jeffrey, Peter, and Pollock. Take a break here on SimSpeed TV. Coming up, 40 minutes of pit stop GT3 racing from Magny-Cours in the simrinks.com Odds Pro-Am Sim Series.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, No big deal.
Toyota certified, pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Time for the 40-minute feature race of simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series. Okay, now thanks to everyone on board with Championship, simrigs.com, Super Cheap Auto, Exodus Racing, and yeah, Index Design, Echuca Toyota. Is that everyone?
Yeah, you've got it all down.
I don't even need the splash screen, although it helps.
It's because you're just that good, Dave. No need for the
Said it a
splash
couple
screen.
times. I've said it a couple times already. Let's take a look at the grid then, knowing that it's the finishing result of the last race we just saw, but with that inverted top 10 that sees Brandon Grosh and points leader starting on pole alongside Colin Schwecke. Not a bad place to be, with a couple of pro cars between yourself and your key rivals in that category, with Nick Wood and Harry Lawrence starting the row behind, then a big gap to the next. Starting on the row behind that, Scott Hasler and Lachlan Capel.
They managed to get into those flip positions there, Dave.
Yeah, Heimgartner and Jeff Connell for row 4. Row 5, Joshua Fitt and Bo Albert. Everyone else as they finished the previous race, including teammates side by side, Hen and Funslow. And another teammate, Brookfield, just behind them as well. So it's a very Lamborghini Ilecki part of the grid. Jeffrey Wang, Jai Potts, Brandon Levin, Caleb Bellac, Macaulay Jones starting out of 18th, as we said. Ian Jordan and Chu Kang to 20th. Sam Lehman, Ben Jeffrey, Jordan Peter, Ben Pollock. I don't think we saw David Baz in race number 1, did we?
No, I don't believe we did. Don't believe we did. So, Dave, I don't reckon I've ever seen this before. Caleb Bellic's just come across the chat and said that he's lost his tooth while he was sitting on the grid. Have you commentated a fair bit more than I do? Have you ever seen that before?
Not from an adult.
Well, I guess for those of you out there, the Tooth Fairy's going to be busy tonight.
Oh. Jay's got, a new one on the way. Has the Tooth Fairy kept up with inflation, Jay? but I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the Tooth Fairy economy these days.
A couple of young ones, and it's still a coin, the one that comes to warehouse. But I can tell you, some of their friends have had notes, which is very, very interesting. I think taught us when they get to warehouse. Anyway, we move on to, or we digress. We move on. Use that to, dare I say, put our teeth back in and get ready for this main feature race. So I've said the inverted top 10, which should make for some interesting moves at the start. Fuel strategy is going to come into play to our final lap in the last race started with just 17 seconds left on the clock. Will that make a difference in the outcome of this feature race?
I think the Tooth Fairy's going to give my kids Aldi shopping trolley tokens. Teach them a very, very valuable life lesson. So, 40 minutes give us a lot of laps from these GT3 cars. We know they've got at least 7 laps of fuel in the tank to start us off. How much further than that they can go, what the optimal strategy is, we'll have to wait and see. And the race pace from Fit and Albert looked very, very impressive in race number 1, but they start out of 9th and 10th respectively, and there is always a solid chance some chaos, carnage, and surprises on lap number 1. We saw it at a race 1. We might see it at a race 2 as well.
Yeah, most definitely expecting it. And unfortunately, our commentator cursed it, so we'll see what happens.
Plenty of space to the pace car because it's a challenge for the rolling start here with the field amongst the chicane, 2 wide side by side. I think there are slightly more equitable rolling starting grids at other tracks than here, but it is what it is. You get given what you get given. Barney's waiting with the green flag. It gets dropped on us and we're underway. 40 minutes of racing into the night at Magny-Cours, and I think that's a pretty even start most of the way, except Bo Albert's trying to go round the outside of turn number 1. Whoa, and he gets a lot of grass, a lot of gravel, sideways rejoining. Not a great start out of him, but others have had worse.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ILEC boys off in the background as well. It's Adam Funslow deciding to play dirt. Oh, we've got a huge number of cars off down on the infield, the outfield there, Richard Brookfield. Straight into the tyre wall as well. So there's a couple back there. They're going to have to limp their way back to pit lane. So we head down to Adelaide. A little bit of bumping and rubbing going on there. So one of the Porsches tries to take advantage. It's helped out Jeff Connell. He's up into 4th. And hopefully things can calm down a little bit here on lap 1.
Paul Macaulay-Jones simply cannot catch a break in this championship, unfortunately. He was one of the drivers amongst some of the ILEC Lamborghinis there, and we saw some door banging, some real fighting for the race lead here, where Scott Hasler worked his way through. Brandon Grosh held Nick Wood out to dry, and suddenly Lachlan Capel amongst them. Andre Heimgartner in here. Harry Lawrence has dropped a couple spots on this lap as well. Heimgartner looking to go around the outside of one of the chicanes and up into 4th place outright. Now Mercedes, which has fired up very quickly at the start of this race, looking for a couple more spots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So second, Scott Hasler, we've got this mixed front pack with AM and Pro drivers here trying to make their way through. Connell looks to move down the inside. Big dive down there, gets it pulled up behind Lachlan Capel and gets that move stuck. So he now moves up into 4th in the Pro category. And it looks like he is now 6th outright, but looking for a move here on Lachlan Capel. He hasn't got the room to get it done, just has a look down the inside. He's also got Bo Albert, race 1 winner, hot on his heels, so the pace is frantic as we head through lap 2.
Albert back into this race. We'll take a look at what happens to Colin Schwecke on this opening lap. Does it all start near and around him? He's with Harry Lawrence there. Ooh, gets a bunch of the grass on the inside, gets tag off one of the ILEC Lamborghinis, and then from there you see a couple more cars come together. From the live, Grosh leads from Hassler. Heimgartner's got up into 3rd with a pass on Nick Wood. And then Capel, Connell, Albert, as you see here.
So yeah, perfect 7-10 split in that accident, and there's a fair few other pins to fall after it. So those guys have to rebuild their race. Try and make it through to that first pit stop. grab the fast repair and hopefully rebuild something from there. Maybe a
Teammates battling for the lead. Hassler back in front of Grosh. Grosh was in front of Hassler, and Hassler was in front of him previously, but it lets Andre Heimgartner put his nose into the fight. He's side by side with Grosh at the moment. He made a pass at this part of the track a lap ago. Loves to get down the inside here, park it a little bit. He goes through in a second, and the top 10 have not strung out much at all at the start of this race. So it's Hassler, Heimgartner, Grosh, and then Wood using all of the road they can get away with to open up turn 1 and carry speed through. Hassler says he's got the fastest lap of the race, but I don't think we've seen much representative clean air running to definitively see who's got it. Wood, oh no! Big hit across the wall as he got out of shape in turn 2.
It's a really nice move from Heimgartner as well, nice and clean. But Nick Wood now, again, going to have to rejoin, try and get back into the groove after that big off. So we're looking here down at Adelaide, and we're on board now with Bo Albert as he tries to hunt down Jeff Connell in front of him in our pro category. Making good headway back through, having started in 10th position, avoiding the carnage. Just looking to try and take advantage where he can here. As you say, it's all bunched up. Good driving from everyone so far.
It's actually the only GT3 model that is also a time machine, because every day you race a Ferrari, you age 10. I always look to Jeff Connell in this kind of situation as kind of the bellwether of what could be a winning strategy, because if Connell is saving fuel, holding position, staying in line, you know it's sort of touch and go, which could be an optimum strategy, that there's a couple of options available. So if Connell's going flat out, looking for track position, looking for everything, you know it's a guaranteed 2-stop. But he made a bit of a dog's breakfast of the curbing in the final chicane, and then lets Albert go for position up into 5th.
As they head through.
Heimgartner also making, I think, a similar move to the lead of the race at the moment.
Yeah, he's got through there. Down, I think it was just before the chicane. Just trying to find that back on the footage there, but we've got a replay coming up now. And no, it must have been a slowdown for Hassler. So he's moved to the inside there, and he's going to lose that position. Actually, good move from Andre, right around the outside. Around the outside he goes.
Chick-chick-wow.
And there we go. Through Kerber, I think it's called, or Grand Curve in English. So he now takes the lead and will try and set off away from Scott Hassler. Lachlan Capel still holding on in 3rd as well, with Bo Albert trying to close down on him in our pro category.
The next phase of this race where it'll get interesting is when we reach lap 7, when we start seeing some of the first pit stops. Aboard with Connell, who would be the highest running Porsche at the moment, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. So we're looking here to watch whether or not Connell is saving fuel. So just looking for him to get off the gas a little bit early. Plenty of opportunities to save fuel around this track, and he is the best at it. So look and see what he's doing. If we can try and pick whether he's trying to make this a one-stop race or not.
Even if he can't cut out a pit stop, it's also been very much in his style to just try to save a little bit where possible, where he thinks he can't make progress on track, to then have some shorter pit stops as well. It's a nice little train up front still, though, from Heimgartner all the way through to Albert, Connell, and Josh Fitt.
Yeah, well, it just shows you the quality of the drivers. Our AM drivers not really too far out of place, sitting in 2nd and 3rd. So, sorry, in 3rd in Brandon Grosh, doing a good job in front of Lachlan Capel, who is obviously no slouch in that Lamborghini as well. So, an interesting mix.
So Capel trying to get a little bit racy. Some of them feeling like maybe they're being held up by Brandon Grosh, the AM class leader at the moment. Got that pole position off of the invert. Done very well in these opening couple of laps to put a lot of space between himself and his next key competitors of Harry Lawrence and Jeffrey Wang. But he is amongst bigger fish in this leading pack.
So we've got Harry Lawrence second in pro. So, I mean, what's the move here? Are you letting them through? You're not really battling these guys for anything championship-wise.
And he's not going to be battling Nick Wood now because he has gone into the wall and back to pit lane. The drivers who absolutely could be challenging for the lead of the AM Championship and well-positioned with some good results to be able to do it, but he's out of sorts through the chicane. And not a wall that gets hit all that often, I think. But he was following Macaulay Jones through there. He got out wide, lost the tail, spun to the inside wall there, and might well have ended his race and his hopes of points.
BMW just deciding he wanted to head off to Hockenheim a couple of weeks early, and that'll be it for him. As we get towards 10 minutes through this 40-minute feature race, we're going to start to see who's going to make a stop. 7 laps we saw in the main race. We're on lap 6 now.
French are used to high-speed trains, and there's one starting to form behind Grosh. You can see that Heimgartner and Hasler have pulled a little bit on him, and that bodes well for them to have a little bit more time in their pocket to cover off a longer stop if they do need to take more fuel than someone in this next pack of cars. Think Albert, think Connell, think maybe even Josh Fitt, who did have great podium pace in the first race as well as great qualifying pace, and that one lap pace can be valuable around the in laps, the out laps, when you do get a little bit more clean air around the pit stop phases. Lehman and Jordan pitting after 6 laps.
Just didn't quite catch who that was. Just at the back of this, Sam Lehman comes out of pit lane, sorry, making his way out. Pit lane exit here can be a little tricky. It's one of the longer ones. Just in the back of this chain as well, just having a look down into Adelaide. Just the 49, I think, 59, I couldn't quite see, of potentially Jordan Peter. Oh, it's Joshua Fitt, my apologies. So Joshua Fitt, just having a look there as well. He's in the Ferrari, which has got that extra horsepower boost this round. So he was looking to try and make a move. Quite able to get it done yet, but maybe a little bit of him wanting to get the job done ahead of Jeff Connell and try and make some moves. But the pit stop window, as you said, that's going to be quite interesting.
I think you're going to see a flurry for it now. What's most interesting is who keeps going rather than who pits. Albert and Connell stay out, and I'm pulling my surprised face right now. You'll just have to believe me. But almost everyone else from that leading pack onto pit lane, including what was race leading Andre Heimgartner.
Yeah, who holds the fastest lap of the race as well. So that fresh air certainly doing him good. So again, to try and get out of this pack, do you short fill a little bit for a longer later fill, get some fresh air and try and make that play? As we just see as well, I've just had it come up on my pit window. Someone's taking tyres as well. I think that's Brendan Grosh is taking tyres in pit lane too, so he's opted to take tyres, which is interesting.
Yeah, that seems like a mistake, but it's speeding on pit entry for Grosh and Jeffrey Wang. We talked about that 60 km/h pit lane speed limit comes up very, very quick once you leave the racetrack, so that's going to drop them back big time, and it has big implications actually on the AM Championship at this point as well. So the only 5 cars that went around and haven't stopped yet: Albert Connell, Chukang, Brandon Levin, and Jordan Peter. expect to see these guys in this lap then.
So the question is, how much advantage have they got from that extra lap being free, and how good has the outlap from Andre Heimgartner been to see if he can get back into the lead? Did anyone short Phil as well as Albert and Connell both into the lane?
I think Connell made up a lot of ground on that in-lap as well. It looked like he was maybe able to push a little harder than Bo Albert. Everyone else under the lane, and what was your race leader, Andre Heimgartner, on screen here as to where he comes around compared to these guys. Very, very clean and tidy outlap for Heimgartner. No traffic on it for him, which bodes very, very well. Coming off the lane, there they go, but Heimgartner has been well and truly covered at the moment. Oh, Albert and Jeff Connell.
So, and Hasler goes through as well, so he's got 2 seconds up the road from Bo Albert. So it hasn't really altered things that much. Bo Albert 2.5 seconds still behind. That gap pretty much has stayed the same as when he went into pit lane, and Lachlan Capel just behind him. So not too much yet, but we'll see as the race progresses.
Oh, very robust move from Joshua Fitt to get past Lachlan Capel in the hairpin that time. That's in the back of shot here. Heimgartner, handy little lead just for the moment, but it's behind that the battle's kicked off again between Hasler, Albert, Fitt, Capel, and Connell. Connell 6th, Albert 2nd now. As Albert gets ahead of Hasler at the interior hairpin, they're still side by side towards the next chicane. Albert's got it covered.
Yeah, brave move through there, but still managing to hold on. So just have a look at a replay here of that hip and shoulder down. All fair, hip and shoulder down from Joshua Fitt down into the hairpin to get that move done.
He's not called Joshua Doesn't Fit, that's for sure. Found a car width and it went through, and that's the mistake. I'd be fair to call it a mistake from Scott Hasler. A little off wide. Found maybe some marbles, and the car was out of sorts through the corner. Lost the spot. Back into third.
Still managing to hold on though, not going around, but he has got Joshua Fitt bearing it down on him as well. As we've got Lachlan Capel on screen. He hasn't totally dropped off the back of this pack yet. If he wanted to keep pace with him along with Jeff Connell, try and close this pack back up again, but those Ferraris have managed to move through. Albert in 2nd, ahead of Hasler because that mistake, and Fitt in 4th now.
Very, very good from the big hairpin around towards Adelaide. The Ferraris are so strong in that part of the track as well. Provides the best opportunity to make a pass, unless of course the BMW in front of you runs off wide.
Yeah, what, Sam Lehman as well, up 5 spots now. He's into 2nd position through their first, or through the pit stops, first round of pit stops as well. So he, I'm not sure if he actually ran in the first race, but he finished quite low. So he's actually made some good places to get up into P2 in the M category at the moment. Ben Pollock behind him up 6 as well. We try and also come to some sort of conclusion throughout this 40 minutes of who may have made it super, thanks to Super Cheap Auto. It's a tough decision at the moment.
Yeah, it gets tougher every round. It felt pretty easy the first time, and then it's like, oh well, what about this time? Who this time?
So there it is on screen, 21st for Sam Lehman in race 1. So yeah, up to 2nd in the M category. So that's a good move from him. So maybe he's made it super. Ben Pollock fighting for it as well.
I mean, what? Patting himself on the back with that one potentially.
Yeah, absolutely he would be. But you know, we don't discriminate. Everyone in the league's got a chance to have made it super. So Sam's certainly in contention here. So I can just see as well that Pollock as well in 12th outright. So he's not only up 6 positions, but 12th outright, having finished obviously 24th. in race 1, as the overlay says there as well. Joshua Fitt is getting impatient behind Scott Hasler here as well. He's just having a look everywhere. If it was a game of hide and seek, he would certainly be finding out all of the good spots, as he's just shining the lights of that Ferrari into just about every braking zone, so getting a little impatient, looking for a move to get done if he can, to move up into third.
Hen has had a problem in the ILEC Lamborghini, and the problem is maybe just how damn dark it is in the final chicane, and he gets a rough ride across both of the curbs in that chicane.
Turns it around and gets it back going again. Plenty of work to do here. Just about halfway through the feature race. Jumping on board now with Joshua Fitt. So in the simrigs.com DPR entry. Heading up towards Adelaide hairpin.
The timing screen get confused because Christopher Hen donutted across the timing line. That's unique. That's unique. It got a little confused. It's like, oh, he's crossed the start-finish line again for what would be the fastest lap ever damn set of Magny-Cours. But no, sanity eventually prevailed. Change of the lead of the race. What's happened to Heimgartner? He's under a whole lot of pressure now, and now he gets turned. Heimgartner facing the wrong way, and Hassler, Capel, Jeff Connell all go through. Lap of disaster for Heimgartner.
Also impacting Fitt there as well, who's dropped down to 5th. He tried to drive around the outside again and just couldn't quite get it done. So having a look at the replay here, oh, he's just into the curves, and he's grabbed a little bit too much of the inside there, and it's just sent that Mercedes wide, and he's just not been able to recover it. Oh, and then he's got a tap as well. So Hassler's giving him a tap on the left-hand rear corner for good measure, and around he goes.
Wow. So now Albert leads by 4 seconds as it checked up everyone behind him. Hasler, Capel, Connell to second. Harry Lawrence now as the AM class leader. It's going well for him in the Porsche. Other drivers opt to hit again. Richard Brookfield, who had to stop at the end of lap 1. So he's gone 10 laps in the middle stint now. Write that down, SpongeBobSquarePants.gif.
Battle for 2nd through 5th has tightened up because of that incident. Baumgartner's going again. He's in 8th. A little bit of work to do now. But this group here runs wide. Hassler again, and that's let Capel up the inside, and he's got the move done as well in that Lamborghini. This is where that Lamborghini's going to have to work quite hard to try and get a little bit of a gap, as Hassler has another look. Not going to be able to get a move done there. Capel's well and truly aware of it, but has a look down the inside here as well. Just manages to check up there. Connell into the back. Didn't quite get it done. Capel lives another day.
Wow. Quite aggressive. I would say probably still 5 laps away from them making their next pit stops as well in this group. Just what I've seen from some of the other cars further down the order. This would be Ben Jeffrey and Ian Jordan, and it's for AM class position as well.
Yeah, Ben Jeffrey up 4 spots in the race as well. There's been a fair bit of good movement throughout the back of the field as well. Those drivers getting the job done. Now we just bide our time and see here. So whether or not Connell can outstretch the 10 laps as Andre Heimgartner closes up on the back of Brandon Levin. He's just trying to get that recovery done in the Mercedes-Benz. We have a look down the inside here. No, he's a little bit too far back, but does close up well under brakes down into Adelaide corner. Just get the exit, get the power down out of that AMG. So there's going to be a fair bit of pressure on the back of that Lamborghini to get towards the back end of this lap.
Certainly not all over yet. Says Bo Albert's got the fastest lap of the race, but it's only 1/10 over what Heimgarten has previously been able to do as well. He's looking for a spot. There's a checkup from the group in front as Hasler's gone around. Connell and Fitt have been slowed down by it. Even Harry Lawrence gets through.
Replay of that up. Oh, he's
Now
gone straight ahead as well, so he's cooked his tyres in the process and struggling. As we have a look at the replay.
Oh, Connell gives him a little hello on the turn in. Big difference of speed as they go through there.
Yeah, it did look. We'll have a look from Connell's perspective because it did look as well like Hassler was unexpectedly slow on the entry to that corner as well. Like maybe he had a slow down and was trying to serve, but you see it here, it's totally unexpected from Connell. And there he is, there, right there, just pulls up, but got to try and avoid that. Unfortunately, Connell almost getting served as well in the back throughout that whole process. So, yeah, interesting to see what happened.
Lehman and Potts hitting again as well. Interestingly for Lehman,
yeah,
he hasn't done many laps on that stint, but what he does have is 10 laps to go. So he's pretty much gone and pitted as early as possible where he thinks he can get home from here, and therefore probably everyone else can as well. Though Bo Albert, with plenty of French real estate in front of him, will probably stay out longer. There's no benefit to him from pitting early where he stands at the moment.
So I was just trying to do some mental arithmetic, which doesn't always go down all that well for me. But we are looking like, with Bo Albert just crossing the start-finish line, like we're going to be right in that zone again. So with Lehman taking the gamble of 10 laps from now, potentially could be 11, and that might catch him out.
No matter what happens, though, Bo's going to have to take a stop, which is going to drop him about 30 seconds or so, and that might be the time necessary to guarantee it just goes 10 from there. Heimgartner and Funslow are going to pit now as well.
So they'll get their final stops done too. So the question on my mind, certainly, and possibly your mind as well, is when does Jeff Connell pit? He's always the litmus in my mind of fuel economy and how the race will play out. Great angle on board here with Bo Albert. Having a look at the pedal cam he's got on screen for us. You'll be able to see here the trail braking, which is really important around this track to be able to generate lap speed with a lot of these long sweeping corners. But he's doing it well tonight in the Ferrari. As we head through to complete another lap. Through the chicane, across the start-finish line again. About 13 minutes to go. It's a cheeky look up. I wonder if he knows he's on screen or not. That feeling that someone's watching you.
Lachlan Capel stops. Finds his pit crew. It's very dark in pit lane. Almost everywhere else has, you know, office lights and other random little lights around, and apparently I'm going to say it. Apparently the, power workers are on strike or something.
I can tell you all the crowd are diligently standing there watching in the dark, so they're no doubt enjoying themselves as well.
Yeah, normally there's just a tiny bit more random lighting at marshal posts on pit lane, in the paddock, etc. Not much of that happening here. Albert leads by 10 seconds. Connell's still ahead of Fit. We're looking at Hasler, Lawrence, and Chu Kang for 5th and 6th. Kang's found a bit of speed then, hasn't he, in the last couple of laps? Going along well and catching some of those drivers. So the Ferrari holding on well to its pace. Nick Wood and Christopher Henn make their 3rd stops of the race. Albert's just starting his 10th lap, so there's a little foggy in my crystal ball, but I reckon this is an in-lap for him. Shu Kang makes a spot on Harry Lawrence as well. So moving up into 5th outright at the moment.
Just wait to see all these pit stops cycle through. So having a look here at the leader, Harry Lawrence, back to P2, Ben Pollock in the AM category. So about 19 seconds or so between them. As just see move as well from Fit on Connell just in the background there. So it didn't quite get it done, but Connell coming under pressure.
Connell stays ahead of Fit, and of course key to remember in AM is that Sam Lehman has already made his 2nd stop, so they are shadow racing against him. Here's Connell, the inside, Fit around the outside. No, it's the inside of the hairpin that works for Fit. The other side, scratch that one off. No progress. Expect another flurry on pit lane at the end of this lap. Especially expecting from current race leader Bo Albert. Are we correct? We are. As they say in these parts, et voila.
Gets the Ferrari pulled up. Gets it done. Connell keeps going around for another lap as we live with him. And behind him as well. Looks like Joshua Fit is in pit lane. Hassler in pit lane. Kang going around again. So he's managing his race quite well. Up into P2 temporarily, but he's going to come out of this pit cycle quite well. Harry Lawrence, the leader of the AM category in pit lane 2. So probably expect to see Ben Pollock come in. Where will Sam Lehman pop up after his early stop? Has he managed to manage that clean air well enough to get out into the lead potentially? We'll see. As Joshua Fit comes out of pit lane. Board now with Lehman as he navigates the last complex corners back onto the main straight. Jeffrey still in pit lane, Grosh still in pit lane, Pollock's out, Lawrence is out, so Lehman moves up into 3rd, but he's only 2 seconds behind Ben Pollock now. So he will be able to challenge for the 2nd spot.
Oh, and he goes wide.
No.
He's behind the car, rejoining the race. Goes out wide across the gravel, and now he drops a little further behind Ben Pollock. And lap down car actually gets its lap back on him to slot in between there. And a few cars are waiting on the pit stop from Jeff Connell. One of them, final stop for him in the Porsche. Chu Kang surely got to follow him in, and I think Chu Kang has dropped 4 or 5 seconds on this in-lap compared to where he was relative to Connell. Albert, though, comfortably back to the lead of the race now.
Shorter stop for Connell as well, so he's done well saving fuel there, 7.7 opposed to 9.4. Obviously, with those later, that latter pit stop enabling him to take on that little less fuel, so that's helped him. So he comes back out in P2 with Capel right behind him as well. So the battle is on for P2 in the pro category. On board now with Lachlan Capel in that Lamborghini. What can he do against Connell? This is our 2 championship protagonists, 1st and 2nd in the pro category.
So 2 stops for everyone, and it's Albert, Connell, Capel for the pro class. Lawrence, Pollock, Lehman for Am, but as it's all shaken out, goodness, it looks good for Harry Lawrence with 23 seconds to Pollock and Lehman.
Yeah, but even that that little run off for Sam Lehman, just he's closing that gap back up now, so it's back within half a second. So he got lucky there. Great commentator's curse handed out as well. But he's done a good job to close that gap back up now. So he's really closing in. So both in the BMW, they're both in the same equipment. So it comes down to driver skill. Who is going to be able to get it done? Lehman doing a good job here.
Looking for the wide turn in. Doesn't really get it to an apex though. Doesn't look particularly grippy out wide, to be honest, based on what we've seen before. And then he's wide again of the apex on the way into the S's there. Starting to struggle, maybe even a slowdown from that one, because you can see right on him that Lamborghini again.
Yeah, so just struggling with some under in that BMW. As gap grows between Connell and Capel now, out to nearly a second for second and third. And Joshua Fitt, that battle is coming. There's only 5 minutes to go here, but expect him to probably get himself onto the back of Capel towards the last lap of this race, so we could be in for a good finish there as Hassler and Kang battle it out for 5th and 6th. It's a fast part of the track to be doing it 2 by 2 and get through there cleanly. Kang looking to try and get that position back and back into P5.
Yeah, a very bold middle stint of the race from Kang, extending that, now able to hopefully fight and push to the end. Got Lawrence and Levin just behind, and Lawrence goes out wide, lets the pro Brandon Levin go through. He obviously wants a bit of that Hassler-Chu Kang fight as well. Getting towards the end of the 40-minute race here, and we know that the GT3 tyres aren't not as durable as they once were, but still, Joshua Fitt bangs in the fastest lap of the race. I was wondering if some of the tyres were maybe almost starting to give up a little bit at this phase, but in terms of outright pace, no. In terms of stability and predictability, it seems like maybe they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So time management comes into the equation here as well. So there's Heimgartner's just lurking in the background there too. This battle here is far from over between Capel, Fitt, Hassler and Kang as well. So we've got 2 battles, 3rd and 4th, and the battle for 5th and 6th. With Brandon Levin, if they keep battling, he'll close in on that as well. So not settled at the front here. What is settled, Bo Albert, 10 seconds to the good. Out in the lead of this race. We're going to make it 2 from 2 in the Ferrari.
All in a world of his own again in race 2. Comfortably clear of everyone else, but it's from 2nd through to 11th where you just can't separate anyone, because Connell, Capel and Fitt are fighting. Hassler-Chu Kang, Brandon Levin fighting. Jordan Peter and Adam Funslow, why not? Because they can. And Pollock and Sam Lehman still fighting for 2nd and 3rd in AM, and crucial championship points there.
But you can't say that 3 times fast. Connell, Capel, Fitt. As we're on board having a look at the battle between Heimgartner and Jordan Peter. So Heimgartner doing well to recover from the early incident in his race.
Lincoln Lehman again in the BMW fight, but Pollock looks to just have it covered at the moment. We always had questions about when Sam Lehman made his 2nd stop, very on the early side, wondering, does he have the capability to push and attack towards the end? Here, Hazzler and Chu Kang. Chu Kang looking to go around the outside of the hairpin. If he can just find grip and traction on the outside, he could do it, but he can't. The Ferrari not picking up the power nicely, but it's very quick in a straight line when it does. So then looking at Lehman, I think it's shaping up like his final stint will be 10 laps at the moment, which will require just a little bit of saving on the pit straight.
So that,
The leader
that's what
lapping the battle between Jai Potts and Christopher Henn. Can you see Barney? What's he waving?
nothing,
can't see
nothing at all.
anything.
I was just on board with Bo Albert. Just looking
Barney's
at
probably
the
waving
line.
something, and he can't even see what color it is in the dark.
But I don't believe we got the white flag that lap around. So it looks like we're going to be in another one of these situations where we've got one more to go with a minute left on the clock now. By the time Bo Albert gets around, it'll be close to, well, we will be, and the clock will have ticked 0. So not sure. Certainly not seeing a white flag. So we'll see what happens as we get through this last lap, as Joshua Fitt has made a move on Lachlan Capel. Hey, keep doing that, but that's okay. We'll get there.
To be fair, I'm not confident that I've got it right.
I'm pretty sure it is capable. I'm just no good at it at the moment, as I said, rusty, so apologies for that, Lachlan. But Fitt now up into second, and I can tell you Jeff Connell as well is in this fight as we go to a replay of the move. Oh, as they went 3 wide, so Capel had to defend in attacking, and I think that was Adelaide corner as well. He got the job done. So, and then Fitt went through.
$14.99 from Super Cheap Auto, and you get yourself an LED headlamp and torch combo. So, yeah, only just starting the final lap now, and it's by a matter of seconds. I wonder if it's deliberate, or Albert might have actually rather to have ended it a lap earlier if he just backed off a tiny bit on the previous 2 laps, but it means another 4.4 kilometer lap of circuit Magny-Cours that really, really could stress the likes of Sam Lehman and others if they short fueled themselves a little bit at their last stop. Some of the shortest fuels at the last stop were Chu Kang, Jeff Connell, and Brandon Levin.
I think he might be slightly short here as well. We saw 10 laps as the longest stint, and maybe that fresh air won't have helped him out, unfortunately, but he has closed the gap and doesn't look to be coasting yet. The other one to look at is Connell, as you said. They're just starting their final lap now, is Sam Lehman. So doesn't look to be letting up. Maybe he thinks he can get it done.
Well, we'll see who runs out of go on this final lap. Fitt and Capel don't seem to have. Connell has dropped back a tiny bit.
Looks like Macaulay Jones did. He's in pit lane as we speak, just getting a splash and dash, potentially. So he and Richard Brookfield as well. One man who's planned it very well is Bo Albert, who brings it through the last 2 corners and will go through to do the daily double and get home in that Ferrari. So P1 race to race as well. He's taken that from 10th in the reverse, and Joshua Fitt's got up into P2. He'll be absolutely stoked with that result. Change of car for him tonight. We jump back with Harry Lawrence. Looks like Capel got home in 3rd, but Harry Lawrence going to cross the line about 25 seconds to the good as well in the AM category. A great drive from him to take the win there.
Yeah, well and truly ahead of the battle for 2nd and 3rd in this category, where we were asking ourselves, is Lehman going to run out? But Pollock might actually be in a similar situation. Big lunge on the brakes, side by side, heading in towards the chicane. You don't want to get a slowdown here, and he will. The checkered flag comes up immediately. Lehman is going to be in a world of hurt from that one because it'll add almost 40 seconds to his time. Jeffrey, Grosh, Wang weren't that far behind, and Lehman will be kicking himself when he realizes what's happened.
Last lap of the race, but Bo Albert, a great drive from him tonight. The Ferrari's got full power, so that'll come into play in BOP adjustments with the Ferrari finishing first and second. That'll be welcome news to some of our other drivers, but take nothing away from the dominant performance. Qualified on pole and takes the win in the first race, and then comes from 10th in the feature up into first. Take a win by 10 seconds over Joshua Fitt in second. Lachlan Capel coming home in third, with Jeff Connell managing that Porsche through to fourth, and Scott Hasler into fifth, with Chu Canning, a good result for him as well with his run through the field. Andre Heimgartner back into seventh, Brandon Levin coming through in eighth, with Harry Lawrence in ninth, and Jordan Peter taking out 10th.
Looking elsewhere, Adam Funslow in 11th, then Ben Pollock 12th outright, second in category. Has Sam Lehman managed to get away with that one? I think because Richard Brookfield hasn't crossed the checkered flag, it's initiating a countdown before it. We'll refresh that because the post-race penalty has been applied. And Ben Jeffrey goes up to third in class from Brandon Grosh, Jeffrey Wang, Ian Jordan. Sam Lehman ends up back there, so you can see it's added best part of 45 seconds. Don't take the checkered flag, carrying a slowdown penalty. And then Nick Wood, the last car on the lead lap, I think he might have almost run it out of fuel, because that is a very slow final lap, but he stayed on it to finish ahead of Christopher Henn, Colin Schwecke, Macaulay Jones, Richard Brookfield, Jai Potts, Caleb Bellack, and we never did see David Baz tonight. Well, we've got some of our drivers standing by, so I'm going to grab Lachlan Capel. Lachlan, 5th in race 1, podium in race number 2. How'd the Lamborghini go?
One word, terrible. It was great.
How then did you find Magny-Cours? Pretty recent addition, and it got very, very dark out there.
Yeah, it's a okay track, but when you have such a hard power restriction to your name, it becomes very, very difficult to find pace. You saw the Ferraris pretty much rocket ships, but after I had the slight damage, I thought I had damage with Scott Hasler after he nearly turned me at one of the corners. I went for the undercut strategy because I actually thought I had light damage because I couldn't see. So, yeah, it was, you needed to be following cars or else you couldn't see anything.
Well, it's going to be a funny old championship at the back half, because clearly Bo Albert's got a bit of pace in that Ferrari at the moment, but he's not really in the championship picture. You could do well by continuing to just pick up podiums.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a battle between me and Jeff, and then obviously Bo with the Ferrari if it doesn't get bopped harder, and it's going to be a real big struggle too next week when we're at pretty much power tracks. So I'm well within a shout to do well for the championship this season, but it's going to be very interesting. I reckon it'll be me, Jeff, and Bo for the title.
Interesting little prediction. Congrats on double top 10s, and look forward to seeing you next round.
Yeah, for sure. Also just wanted to give a quick mention. Sorry, Jeff, if I parked that a bit too hard, but well, we're all good.
We go Lachlan Capel 3rd in 40-minute feature race, and Stu Brown's going to get our race winner, Bo Albert.
So welcome to the booth. A pretty clinical night from you tonight with P1, Q1 I should say, P1 in the early race, and then a good drive from 10th to 1st in the feature race. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Probably looked a little bit easier than it actually was in hindsight, because I felt pretty confident going into this one. Obviously, let's face the elephant in the room. The Ferrari's extremely quick right now. We know that. And it was obviously an influence in why I chose the car in the first place, because of the BOP was quite favourable. But Josh Fitt switched to it this week, and he had really, really strong pace, so it wasn't easy to hold him off. And obviously, race 2 as well with the top 10 invert was very difficult. I almost threw the car off at turn 1 as well. I went through the grass there and had to somehow pull it back, which was very lucky. So the results on paper look fantastic for me, but honestly, hard work tonight.
Yeah, look, it's never going to be easy just to roll up and get it done. You've still got to produce the results, particularly at a track like Magny-Cours, which can upset you quite easily. How did you find the new track?
I thought it was awesome, to be honest. I have driven it in a previous league before as well, but now to jump into the GT3 around here was very cool. A lot more downforce, could really carry the corner speed, and handles a bit nicer over the curbs as well. So I think it's a great addition to the sim. Admittedly, my FPS was struggling a little bit, and I had a couple of stutters in there, but overall, I think it's a great addition. Very harsh on tyre wear, I have to say. That was one thing I was watching through the race. My front left tyre in particular, the long loaded right-hander at the start of the lap was getting quite worn. So that was good fun to manage that over the race, but yeah, great addition to the sim.
And look, one of the burning questions, same shirt as last week or new shirt?
So this is a different one. Last week I had the long sleeve Ken Block tribute one. I got the short sleeve one this time, which has his slightly different design on the back there. Got to represent my boy. Obviously, Ken was a massive influence for me, loved what he did. And playing the Colin McRae Dirt 2, that was probably the game of my childhood. I spent way too many hours on that game, and he was a major poster boy for that. So, whilst I'm a privateer doing my own thing at the moment, I want to pay as much tribute as I can to the legend.
Oh, we certainly love the energy wall in the background as well, mate. Looks fantastic. We've all been there. So, but no, fantastic drive tonight. And look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Bop throughout the week. 1-2 for the Ferrari and P6 as well. I think there's only 4 or 5 running the Ferrari too, so there's 1 or 2 of the drivers not there tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. What are you expecting next week if there is a slight power penalty to the Ferrari?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. There was already discussion going into this week if the Ferrari should be neutered at all. So I think into Hockenheim it's going to be very difficult. And hey, should mean the racing's close, which is cool. I do love the Ferrari. I will be sticking with it for Hockenheim, and obviously it will be a little bit less down on power, so hopefully we'll get some good racing a bit closer to the pack, so it's not always a Ferrari 1-2. Yeah, I say bring it on, can't wait.
Fantastic, mate. And also, we decided tonight that you were the driver that made it super, so thank you to Super Cheap Auto for our Make It Super award tonight. Bo Albert taking that out, so you will get that $20 gift card to head down to Super Cheap Auto and grab yourself another couple of cans of Monster, if not something else, while you're down there. So a big thank you to Super Cheap Auto. First pole for you, and first in the feature race, as well as in our earlier heat. So congratulations, Bo Albert, on a great drive tonight.
Thank you so much, guys, and also a massive shout out to Super Cheap Auto. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
So, Dave, there we go. Next round, Hockenheim Ring. We've been there before, I think 2 seasons ago, when the track was new to the sim, and it's going to be another interesting round, another fast-flowing track that's got a couple of hairy corners in it as well to close everyone up.
Yeah, a couple curbs that you're going to have to give some respect to as well. Looking forward to that one. Big overtaking opportunities at that hairpin as well, and another great tribute to Jim Clark. It is there. You'll catch it all here on SimSpeed TV again, same time next week. Forward to bringing you that. Thanks again to series partners Simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Super Cheap Auto, Echuca Toyota, and Index Designs. It's been David Haynes with Stuart Brown, Jay Kennedy, and we'll catch you for more Oz Pro-Am Sim series next week.
So you do like it? I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.